Welcome to In the Studio on Davis Media Access. I'm Tim Gaffaney. 40 years ago, Pamela Trokanski traveled from upstate New York to the West Coast and began teaching dance at a small studio in downtown Davis. Today, the Pamela Trokanski Dance Workshop continues to thrive in a state-of-the-art space in East Davis, offering classes in ballet, contemporary, jazz, hip hop, and others. In conjunction with this, Pamela has also overseen the development of a number of programs designed to bring dance to the Davis community in innovative ways, including classes for Parkinson's patients and for senior members of the community, a multi-generational dance company, and public dance events. I'm very excited to have Pamela with us today to tell us more about all of this. Welcome, Pamela, and congratulations on 40 years.
Thank you for that, and thank you for the honor of being asked to come on the show and talk a little bit about it. I appreciate it.
Oh, it is our pleasure. So tell us, how did this all get started back in 1984, 85?
Well, so many things. As an upstate New Yorker, I was from Rochester. I had fallen in love with someone who grew up in Davis, and he never really made his peace with East Coast winters, which last until May usually. So we were out here visiting his parents, and there was this studio, a dance studio downtown, and the business was for sale. And he said, "Hey, what if we sell the house and I close my business and you sell your business and we just move to Davis?" And I was like, "Okay, yes, let's have an adventure." So all those things fell into line. We were able to do all those things, and it said, like the universe was saying, move to Davis. So we moved to Davis, and we are no longer together. We are very good friends, but he got called off to Nashville as a musician, and I ended up being here because Davis has been a wonderful place for me to be.
That's wonderful. And I think over the course of our time together here, I'll hear more about what has sustained you for 40 years. But I also wanted to point out that, as I mentioned in the introduction, of course, what I like to call the Pamela Trokanski Dance universe includes much more than a standard catalog of individual classes. Can you tell us more about the different programs and the companies that form what's called the Pamela Trokanski Dance Theater, and particularly those tailored to the needs of our senior community members?
Yes. Okay. That's such a great question. Okay. In Pamela Land, which is what I think of it as in my head, in Pamela Land, dancing changed everything. I was not a dancer as a child. My people were trying to survive their own lives. So I came into dance after I had a studio art degree because I was very shy. And I saw it and I had some experience with it, and it changed everything for me. Dance was a moment of epiphany. And so that changed me as a young adult. I was in my 20s. And so I, studied dance. I started a dance company. And then as we evolve in our life, as we become aware of more and more other people, and we begin to think about okay, I'm going to go kind of sideways here. There's no reason in the world that I should have been able to do all of this, except that, one, I found dancing, which totally changed my ability to navigate people and to articulate myself in the world. And it kind of put me together in a very different way. But I was only able to do that because of so many other people in my life. People who said the right things at the right time, teachers that I had, not necessarily dance teachers. All of these things come together. And So as I began to grow as a dancer and as a business person and as a human being, you think, okay, you were lucky. You got to do this because of this and this and this. Not everybody is that lucky. And so how can you create an environment that helps other people be as successful in their heart or in their brains or in the world as they can be through the tool of dance? For me, the tool is dance. And I think I went sideways there, and I'm not sure I answered the question. Oh, so I'm talking about why we do what we do.
Yes, well, no,
Okay.
that's perfect, and that sort of leads nicely into another question I have about your mission statement, where you say we believe in dance and multiple art forms as tools for physical and mental well-being, academic enrichment, and to support a thriving and connected community. And I'm going to come back in a moment to my previous question, but let's go with this for a moment.
Mhm.
Tell me what do you mean about dance having an impact on the whole health of the person? And again, I think you've said a little bit about that in your own personal journey, but
Mhm.
how are other people uh, benefiting from that as well?
You know, what's really amazing is how we grow up as a culture and as a species, how we begin to learn more. Um, and dance for a long time, like when I was a kid, is something you stuck your kids in, and that's what they did as part of their development. Dancing does so much for people at any age. So let's talk about bodies. It helps, it's an athletic endeavor. It builds strength, flexibility, agility, endurance, the ability to do teamwork, um, the hand-to-eye coordination, all of that. So like with little kids, when you see it with little kids, say a 4-year-old or 5-year-old, they have a favorite leg for hopping on. And when I was teaching at the high school, by the time they got to high school, they also still had a favorite leg for hopping on because they had stopped hopping on both legs, right? So everybody usually had a favorite leg. So we have like a dominant side. So in dancing, it's good if you're good on both sides, right? So you're building symmetry. When I was a young dancer back in New York, they used to say, it doesn't matter what your good side is, it matters what your choreographer's good side is if you want to dance. So part of dancing is to build symmetry in the body and to build those athletic skills. With young kids, that's really crucial because their muscle development, their bone development, and then all the way through. For our older dancers, it's about sustaining. When we're flexible in our muscles, we're also more flexible in our pulmonary systems, for example. It helps with balance and not falling. It helps with alignment, all of that. Again, strength, endurance, flexibility, although that changes as we mature in our bodies. The physical changes are consistent and huge. Um, my my life as someone who has been dancing for over 40 years now, 40 years in Davis, but also before then, back in New York, my process for aging, I think, is really different from some of my peers because I am so active so much of the time. So that's physical. And that's, again, a lifelong thing from whether you're 4 to 90 plus, like Allegra, who is one of our oldest dancers, who's 94 and still dancing, down on the floor, up, working on balances on one leg, all of that. In terms of brain development, it builds neuroplasticity. The Einstein Institute did this survey about how brains are developed and how they maintain neuroplasticity. And as someone who works with older adults, and I'm laughing because my friend Lisa says, you know, you're one of them, right? Okay, anyways, but working with older adults, I did some research. And so we do like Sudoku or crossword puzzles and all of those things. But when you take movement, integrate it with music, and response to external cues, it's hugely helpful. It's like where Sudoku and crossword puzzles were like 10 to 12% improvement, with dancing, it was in the 70% improvement in terms of brain function. So that was one of the things that the Second Wind classes, which the dance theater funds, and that's free for adults 65 and older. We now have 2 of those classes going, plus a chair class for people whose knees are not really happy to be standing for an hour. That's important. We have also found out dance for Parkinson's. We do this in affiliation with the Mark Morris Dance Group. And originally we were connected with the Mondavi was running it, and we were part of the partners, but then they pulled out, and we just kept the program going. So we run free classes for people with Parkinson's disease and their caregivers, because again, there is a brain, there's a body connection, but, and here's the other part, in terms of social emotional well-being, it is an act of connection. If we look at aging people, it's very easy to have one's life shrink. I've had people who retire say, my life started shrinking. And when you have Parkinson's or that kind, you're dealing with that kind of issue in your life, challenge in your life, your world tends to shrink. But coming to dance classes, you get to connect with people, you're engaged in an activity together. And that's something that people in the Second Wind class and the Parkinson's class have commented on continually. It's that social connection, which is helpful. For children, it's also hugely helpful. They're learning to navigate rules, focus, discipline, and connecting and doing partnering games with other people in class and watching other people and learning from them. So yeah, dance is a pretty good overall activity for developing, we say, body, brain, and being.
Yeah. Well, and I just have to interject. First of all, in full disclosure to everybody, I've been taking class with you for a year now, which has had a tremendous impact on my life. And I just have to mention one of the things that you quite often say in class, and that is when you're teaching us something that's, like patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same time, and you'll say, you'll thank me when you're older, which is a reference to that, building that neuroplasticity. And I'm only a year into this, and not quite of senior status, but close to it, and a few years out from it. So I'm looking forward to that as well, and I really appreciate that.
Excellent.
So and then so you have the classes, you have these outreach programs to special particular groups in our community. But you also do things that are sort of tangential to dance, but related to dance. You offer these broader enrichment programs, the CORE program, for example, KORE. On top of that, you do productions. Can you say something about some of these other pieces of you call it Pamela
Absolutely.
Land, I call it Pamela Universe, whether we're down on the ground or up in the space.
I like universe. Okay, so CORE program, which stood for Kinesthetic Organic Rigorous Education, was designed by myself and Cindy Robinson, who is a dancer. She's no longer with us. Well, she's in the world, but not with the company. Danced with the Third Stage and with PTDT at one point. And she was a childhood educator. And we have found that using movement to enrich reading and writing skills is huge. Again, it gets down to neuroplasticity, but it's also the way that, okay, I'm going to go sideways here. I come from a family of readers. We read everything. Cereal boxes, doesn't matter. And my youngest brother, Philip, had the hardest time reading. And, they would pull him out into the hallway and have special classes with him as, with a reading specialist. And it wasn't until this woman, I don't know her name, this was a long, long time ago, pulled him out and watched him in the playground. And Philip couldn't skip. Okay, I'm going to show you something. I'm not sure I'm allowed to do this, but I'm going to show you. I'm just going to stand up. So he skipped like this. Only on one leg. Only on one leg. And she took him aside and she taught him to step hop and then step hop on the other leg. And it turns out there's something in the movement of learning to skip, and again, symmetry, that helps some brains decode written language better. So there's that. There's also the rhythm of iambic poetry. Bum, 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 bum. So we put together this program that uses visual arts, movement, rhythm, tempo, and time to engage young readers and writers. And so, yeah, we were writing songs. We take a basic tune. So you can take like dun 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 dun, and then the kids, we work on what's a noun, what's a verb, what's an adjective, what's an adverb, and we create songs together, and we send movement with them. So it's that's a really lovely program. The short version of the title, which means it's more picturesque, is Moving Words, the Duet of Writing and Dance. So yeah, that's the core program. And let's see, what was the other one you asked about?
Oh, just about some of the productions that you do, the performances that you do as well.
Yeah. And we do here's the other thing we do, because we do believe in, I grew up in a time where dancers, professional dancers, were of a certain age group and a certain body type and a certain athletic type. But like, for example, in 1994, we created the Third Stage Dance Company, which in its time, and it might still be, I don't know, was the only multi-generational contemporary dance company in Northern California, with dancers who ranged in age from 8 to 80 plus at that point. Because everybody, dance should not be in our mission statement. Dance should not be the sole property of a technically trained elite. It belongs to everyone. And so the Third Stage, we had dancers of all ages creating some beautiful works of art, because I think when the audience sees people that look like them, they can also hear the message in a very different way. And also, while an 80-year-old may not be able to put their leg upside their head like a 15-year-old might be able to, there is a context of their movement. They've lived longer. Their bones and their bodies have a message, that a subtext, if you will, that just conveys a different depth of message that maybe sometimes a 10-year-old can't, even though they can do like splits.
Wow.
Oh, so we like to involve other people. Sometimes we do dance in public places, free classes for people to come and learn, like LOVE for Valentine's Day, and then we'll dance in public. It really is involved. It really is about getting people involved in dance. But then, of course, the company is a concert company as well. And the dance theater is also celebrating 40 years of dance and concert. Even the pandemic couldn't stop us, because we did recorded and we put them online on social media, and kept that going. Oh yeah, 40 years of dance. So this is from a retrospective photo. Yeah.
And I'm interested in this shot. Could you explain this one to us as well? This is
Oh
so
yeah.
beautiful.
Okay. So this one is okay. The first one was The Way Life Works. This is Waiting to Be Born. And yeah, that again, a lot of experimentation in my life. This one is a Third Stage, and this was a dance called Singing Over Bones. And there's actually 3 circles. There's this was the older women. Then there was a circle of women who were like the age of mothers, and then a circle of women who were more maiden, the younger ones. And then they each have their part of the dance, and it all weaves in together. But I love this photo, and Allegra's in this photo, because Allegra's been dancing with me for 30 years now. I say that because you know Allegra in dance class.
Yes, well, and I'm in dance. I'm in class with Allegra, I'm happy to say, once a week.
Yeah.
And I should also mention that she was one of our very early guests, one of my very early guests. I think it's been 2.5 years now, a couple years, but here in the studio to talk about both her poetry and her dance. Well, we don't have a lot of time left, Pamela, but I did, before we left, I did want to ask you, so what's up for the next 40 years? Because at the rate you're going with all this neuroplasticity, I'm confident that you're going to be, here for a lot of that. So what's what's going to happen over the next 40 years?
Well, okay, right before the pandemic, what I was hoping to, I have a large area of land which is undeveloped, which is right next to the dance workshop. And what I'd wanted to do was the Life in 11 Dimensions project, which was to create a community of businesses and organizations that the arts, education, wellness, relaxation, positive relaxation, and building community. And that gets back to, again, the beginning. I have been able to be as successful as I have been, not because of me, but because of many, many other people in my life. And I think I've been lucky. I think I was lucky to be in the right place at the right time. Life in 11D was to create, I don't think everybody's as lucky as I was to create an area where many people could come and find a lot of those experiences. We're a little bit on hold on that because why? Right before we were supposed to finish the financing and break ground, COVID struck. So the program is on hold now. I'm re-envisioning it. And actually I'm outreaching to some people who are interested in that continuing. So we'll see what that might happen in the next, I might know more about that in the next few months.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, Pamela, this has just been inspirational. For me, I hope for our audience. I mean, I don't want to use this term too loosely, but I do really believe you are a visionary, and that the
Oh,
Davis community has been. You talk about being lucky, and you may have been lucky, but the Davis community has been incredibly lucky to have you here. And you may not be with him anymore, but thank goodness you were with that guy at one point who convinced you to move out here to Davis.
yeah.
Because but for that, we
Oh,
would have a huge hole, a huge gap in our community here, not just our arts community, but the community of Davis more broadly. So I want to thank you for all that you've done over the last 40 years, and wish you the best for the next 40. And I guess I'll see you in class tonight, by the
you'll see
way.
me in class tonight. That's right. Okay. Thank you so much for this
Well,
opportunity. Appreciate it.
oh, you bet. So I have been speaking with Pamela Trokanski, founder of both the Dance Workshop and the Dance Theater. For more information on individual classes, you can go to trokansky.com. And for more information on the work of the Pamela Trokanski Dance Theater, you can go to trokansky.org. Okay, again, thank you so much, Pamela.
Thank
And
you.
thank
Thank you
everybody
so
out
much.
there. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tim Gaffaney, and you've been watching In the Studio on Davis Media Access.